All right, so you're prepping for an electrical equipment production supervisor interview, which is really exciting. We've got a stack of RoleCatcher resources here to help you
Yeah,
really kind of crush this interview.
it's going to be great.
So we're going to take a deep dive into some common interview questions, but also really give you some strategies to make your answers stand out. And again, we're going to sprinkle in some really great insights about the career itself from some of the RoleCatcher resources we have.
What's so cool about these resources is they really help you with so much more than just the interview. It really maps out your career trajectory in this field.
Okay, so let's jump right in. One of the first questions you might get is, how did you first become interested in electrical equipment production? Seems like kind of a simple question, but
It does.
how do you make your answer stand out?
That's where you want to spark their interest with a really vivid story. You don't want to give just a generic answer. Think about, was there something specific when you were a kid that got you interested in this? Was there a gadget you were always curious about? A project in school that really ignited your passion? Share that story that shows you have a genuine interest in this field.
So instead of just saying like, oh, I've always been good with electronics,
Yeah.
I could talk about like taking apart my dad's old radio as a kid and just being fascinated by all the components and the circuit boards.
Exactly. That shows genuine curiosity, hands-on approach, all great qualities for a production supervisor. And just be ready for those follow-up questions like, what did you learn from that? How did that early interest shape your career path?
Okay, that's a great point.
Yeah.
So the next question might be, what experience do you have in leading a team of electrical equipment production workers? This one feels a little bit more straightforward to answer.
It might seem straightforward, but you don't want to just list off job titles here. You really want to think about a time where you showcased your leadership. Did you motivate your team to exceed production goals, resolve a conflict that was impacting productivity?
So instead of saying I was a team lead for 3 years, I could talk about a time when I implemented a new training program that helped improve my team's efficiency by 15%.
Exactly. Quantifying your impact is key. And just like the last question, be prepared for some follow-ups. Like, what were some challenges you faced? How did you measure the success of your initiative?
This is where RoleCatcher's AI can really come in handy, right? Because I can use that AI to analyze the job description and make sure that I'm tailoring my answer to that specific company and that specific role.
Absolutely. The AI can help you identify those skills and keywords that are most relevant. And it can even suggest ways to incorporate them into your answers. It's like having a personal interview coach right in your pocket.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. How do you ensure that electrical equipment production processes are efficient and effective? I imagine that's where lean manufacturing principles really come into play.
Absolutely. This is where you really want to showcase your knowledge of process improvement methodologies. Have you implemented lean manufacturing techniques to eliminate waste, streamline production? Have you used Six Sigma to reduce defects and improve quality?
But for someone who's not familiar, can you explain what exactly are lean manufacturing principles?
Yeah, so lean manufacturing, it's all about maximizing customer value while minimizing waste. So it really focuses on identifying and eliminating non-value added activities in the production process. You can think of it as streamlining every step to improve efficiency and quality.
Got it. So instead of just saying, oh, I'm all about efficiency, I can give a specific example of how I applied lean principles to improve a process
Exactly.
at my previous company.
Exactly, and just be prepared to explain the specific lean tools that you used, like value stream mapping, Kaizen events, and the interviewer might ask some follow-ups. What were the results of your efforts? How did you measure the impact of your improvement?
All great points. Okay, let's move on to the next one. How do you ensure that electrical equipment is produced to the highest quality standards in physics? I'm sensing a theme here. Specific examples are key.
Yes, you're getting it. Instead of just saying, quality is important to me, really think about a time where you went above and beyond to ensure quality. Did you implement a new testing procedure or develop a system for tracking and resolving defects?
So for example, I could talk about a time when I noticed a recurring defect in a specific component and how I investigated the root cause, implemented a corrective action, and reduce that defect rate by like 80%.
That's a great example. You're demonstrating problem-solving skills, commitment to quality, and again, don't be surprised if they ask those follow-ups, like, what were the key metrics you tracked? How did you ensure that the corrective action was sustainable?
All right, next question. How do you ensure that production deadlines are met? This seems like a good one to really highlight my organizational skills and ability to manage multiple projects.
Absolutely. Think about a time when you successfully managed a complex project under a tight deadline. What strategies did you use to keep everything on track? Did you utilize any project management software? Implement a visual management system to track progress.
Yeah, so for example, I could talk about a time when we had a major product launch with a very tight deadline, and I could explain how I created a detailed project plan, delegated tasks effectively, held regular team meetings to track progress and address any roadblocks.
Perfect. You're demonstrating your ability to plan, organize, and execute. And be ready for those follow-ups like, what were some of the challenges you faced? How did you handle any unexpected delays or changes in scope?
Yeah, that's a great point. This is another area where RoleCatcher's AI can be super helpful. I can use the platform to really analyze the job description, see what project management skills they're really looking for.
Exactly. The AI can help you highlight the most relevant aspects of your experience and tailor your answers to really resonate with what the interviewer is looking for.
Okay, next question. How do you ensure that your team is motivated and engaged in the production process? This seems a little bit less about technical skills and more about leadership.
You're right. This is really where you want to showcase your ability to create that positive and productive work environment. Think about a time when you fostered teamwork, recognized individual contributions, or empowered your team to take ownership of their work.
Okay, so instead of just saying, I'm a good motivator, I could talk about a time when I implemented a peer recognition program that boosted morale and improved team cohesion.
That's a great example. You're showing that you understand the importance of creating that positive and supportive work environment. And they may ask those follow-up questions like, what were the specific results of the program? How did you measure the impact on team engagement?
All right, next up, how do you ensure that safety protocols are followed in the production process?
Ooh, this seems pretty straightforward.
Safety is always a top priority in manufacturing.
You're right. But this is really where you demonstrate your proactive approach to safety. Don't just say, I follow the rules.
Mm.
Share a story about a time where maybe you identified a potential hazard, implemented a new safety procedure, or just went above and beyond to create a safer work environment.
Okay, so I could talk about a time when I noticed some employees weren't wearing their safety glasses consistently.
Yeah.
And how I emphasized, the importance of eye protection and implemented a system for monitoring and enforcing that protocol.
That's an excellent example. You're showing that you're not just following the rules, but you're actively promoting that culture of safety. And the interviewer may ask, what were some challenges you faced in implementing those changes? Or how did you measure the impact on safety performance?
This feels like a good place to kind of touch on some of the insights in the career guide about, the typical work environment and responsibilities for an electrical equipment production supervisor.
Absolutely. The guide emphasizes that safety is paramount in this role. You're not just responsible for your own safety, but the well-being of your entire team. You need to be vigilant about identifying potential hazards, enforcing those safety protocols, promoting that safety-conscious culture on the production floor.
So it's not just about knowing the rules, it's about being a leader who really prioritizes safety
Exactly.
above all else.
And that proactive approach to safety should be evident in your answers. It really demonstrates a key aspect of your leadership style.
Got it. All right, next question. How do you ensure that all equipment is properly maintained and repaired? I imagine preventative maintenance is really crucial in this role.
It is. You're absolutely right. So instead of waiting for equipment to break down, talk about how you proactively implemented preventative maintenance schedules, tracked equipment performance, developed systems for addressing any issues that come up.
So I could talk about a time when I developed a preventative maintenance checklist, based on the manufacturer's recommendations and our company's usage patterns, and how that helped us to minimize downtime and extend the lifespan of our equipment.
That's a great example. You're really showcasing your ability to think ahead and plan for potential problems. Interviewer might ask, what were some key metrics you tracked? Or how did you involve your team in the maintenance process?
Yeah, that's a great point. And this seems like a good time to also mention some of the valuable certifications that the career guide highlights that are really beneficial for this role.
Absolutely. So things like Six Sigma, PMP, CMFGE, these certifications really demonstrate your commitment to professional development and can significantly enhance your credibility in this field.
Can you explain a little bit more about what the CMFGE certification is all about?
Yeah, so the CMFGE, it stands for Certified Manufacturing Engineer. It's a globally recognized credential, and it validates your expertise in manufacturing processes, technologies, and management principles. So things like production planning, quality control, supply chain management.
So having that certification would show potential employers that I have a solid understanding of those core principles.
Absolutely. And the career guide provides a really detailed overview of these certifications, explains the requirements, the benefits, and how they can really boost your career prospects.
Awesome. Okay, last question in this section. How do you stay up to date with the latest advancements in electrical equipment production? This seems like a good opportunity to really showcase my commitment to continuous learning.
Absolutely mention those specific publications you read, conferences you attend, professional organizations you belong to, online resources you use to stay informed about emerging technologies and trends.
So, for example, I could talk about my subscription to IE Spectrum, my membership in the National Electrical Manufacturers Association, and my participation in, online forums and webinars on topics like industrial automation and smart manufacturing.
That's excellent. You're demonstrating your proactive approach to learning, passion for staying ahead of the curve. And the interviewer may ask you, what specific technologies are you most excited about? Or how do you see these advancements impacting the future of electrical equipment production?
And again, this is another area where RoleCatcher's AI could be really helpful, to help me tailor my answer to the specific company's focus areas.
Precisely. So by analyzing, the company's website, news articles, industry reports, the AI can identify those technologies and trends that are most relevant to their business. So you can highlight your knowledge of those areas and demonstrate your alignment with their strategic priorities.
Awesome. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this first section, really focusing on those common interview questions, how to make your answers stand out, and weaving in some insights from the career guide and how RoleCatcher's AI can really help.
I think we've laid a really solid foundation for interview preparation. Now let's dive into some more specific scenarios and challenges you might encounter during the interview process. Are you ready to tackle the next set of questions?
Absolutely.
Let's jump into a question that really gets at your ability to handle challenging interpersonal situations. So how do you handle conflicts or disagreements within your team?
This is a question that really tests your conflict resolution skills. And it's about showing that you can maintain a positive and productive work environment, even when you're faced with disagreements or personality clashes.
Exactly. Instead of just saying, I'm a good listener, walk the interviewer through a specific conflict that you successfully resolved. Highlight your ability to mediate, find common ground, and reach a solution that benefits everyone involved.
Okay, so for example, I could talk about a time when two team members were butting heads over a particular project, and how I facilitated a conversation, helped them to understand each other's perspectives, and ultimately we worked together to develop a compromise that addressed both of their concerns.
That's an excellent example. You're demonstrating that you can remain calm under pressure. Facilitate open communication and guide your team towards a collaborative solution. Be prepared for those follow-up questions like, what were the key communication strategies you used? How did you ensure that the resolution was sustainable in the long term?
Okay, good points. Next question. How do you stay informed about changes in safety regulations or industry standards related to electrical equipment production? Seems pretty important given how safety protocols and best practices are constantly evolving.
Absolutely. It's crucial to demonstrate that you're proactive about staying current, especially in a field where safety is paramount. So instead of just saying, I read industry publications, be specific about the resources that you utilize. Do you subscribe to journals like IE Spectrum or Electrical Contractor? Do you attend conferences hosted by organizations like NEMA?
Yeah, so I could mention my membership in a professional organization like IE and explain how I attend their conferences and workshops to stay abreast of the latest safety regulations and technological advancements.
That's a great example. You're showcasing your commitment to professional development, dedication to maintaining that safe and compliant work environment. They might ask some follow-up questions like, can you give me an example of a recent regulatory change that you had to implement? Or how do you ensure that your team is aware of and adhering to these updates?
And speaking of staying up to date, the Career Guide also emphasizes the importance of continuous learning in this field. And it really highlights how quickly technology is advancing and how that impacts the skills required to be an effective electrical equipment production supervisor.
Exactly. So supervisors really need to be adaptable and willing to learn new things. The guide mentions specific areas like automation technologies, smart manufacturing, and data analytics as really crucial for future success in this role.
So it's not enough to just know the current processes and technologies. You need to be constantly learning and evolving to keep pace with the industry's advancements.
Precisely. And that proactive approach to learning should really shine through in your answers.
Okay, next question. Describe a time when you had to troubleshoot a complex problem on the production line. This one seems like it's all about problem-solving skills and technical know-how.
It's your opportunity to showcase your ability to think critically, analyze information, implement effective solutions under pressure. Don't just say, I fixed it. Walk them through the entire process. How did you identify the root cause of the problem? What steps did you take to diagnose and resolve the issue?
Right. So I could talk about a time when, like, a critical piece of equipment malfunctioned, causing a major disruption to the production line, and explain how I gathered data from the equipment's sensors, consulted the technical manuals, collaborated with the maintenance team, and ultimately identified a faulty circuit board as the culprit. And then I could describe how I worked with the team to replace the board, get the production line back up and running.
That's a fantastic example. You're demonstrating your technical expertise, problem-solving process, and your ability to work collaboratively under pressure. Be prepared for follow-ups, like what were some of the challenges you encountered during the troubleshooting process? Or what lessons did you learn from this experience that you could apply to future situations?
This also seems like a good time to mention how RoleCatcher's AI can help candidates prepare for these types of technical questions.
Absolutely. So the platform can analyze the job description and identify the specific technical skills that are most important. It can then suggest relevant resources, articles, and even practice questions to help you brush up on those areas and feel more confident discussing them during the interview.
So it's like having a personalized study guide tailored to the technical requirements of the job.
Exactly. It takes the guesswork out of your preparation and allows you to focus your efforts on those areas that are most likely to come up.
Love it. Okay, next question. How would you describe your leadership style? This one feels a little bit broad, but I guess it's getting at your core values and how you approach managing a team.
It is. So you want to showcase your self-awareness and your ability to articulate your leadership philosophy in a way that resonates with the company's culture and the requirements of the role. Some common leadership styles include transformational, servant leadership, democratic, coaching.
Right, so if the company values collaboration and employee empowerment, I might describe myself as a democratic leader who encourages open communication, values input from all team members, empowers them to take ownership of their work.
Excellent example. You're not just stating a label, you're explaining what it means to you and how it translates into tangible actions. Be prepared for those follow-up questions that delve into specific scenarios you know they might ask. Can you give me an example of a time when you successfully implemented your leadership style to achieve a team goal? Or how would you adapt your leadership style to different situations or team dynamics?
Yeah, so it's really helpful to have some concrete examples in mind that demonstrate those leadership qualities in action.
Absolutely. So think about situations where you motivated your team, resolved conflicts, delegated effectively, or fostered that positive and productive work environment. Having those examples ready will really make your answers more compelling and memorable.
Okay, next question. How do you delegate tasks effectively? Seems pretty straightforward,
It does.
but I imagine there's more to it than just assigning tasks.
Exactly. Delegation is a crucial skill for any leader, but it requires more than just handing off tasks. They want to see that you can assess your team's strengths, match tasks to individual skill sets, provide clear instructions and expectations, and offer support and guidance throughout the process.
Right, so instead of just saying, I'm good at delegating, I could describe a time when I successfully delegated a complex project to a team member, explain how I chose the right person for the job, provided them with the necessary resources and training, checked in regularly to offer support, and ultimately empower them to take ownership of the project, deliver exceptional results.
That's an excellent example. You're demonstrating your ability to assess your team's capabilities, empower them to grow, create that collaborative environment where everyone contributes their best work. Be ready for those follow-up questions like, how do you handle situations where a team member struggles with a delegated task? Or what strategies do you use to ensure accountability and follow-through?
All right, next question. How do you handle the implementation of new technologies or processes on the production line? Seems pretty relevant given the rapid pace of technological advancements in manufacturing.
Yes, it's all about showcasing your adaptability, openness to innovation, ability to lead your team through periods of transition. So instead of just saying, I'm comfortable with new technology, share a story about a time when you successfully implemented a new system or process.
Okay, so I could talk about a time when our company introduced a new automated assembly system and explain how I researched the new technology, developed a training program for my team, addressed any concerns or resistance to the change, ultimately led a smooth and successful implementation that improved efficiency and quality.
That's a great example. You're demonstrating your ability to embrace change, lead by example, guide your team through the adoption of those new technologies. Interviewer might ask you, what were the key challenges you faced during the implementation process? Or how did you measure the success of the new technology or process?
Okay, next question. How do you handle performance issues with team members? This one feels a little bit sensitive, but it's important to be prepared for it.
Yeah, it's about demonstrating your ability to address underperformance in a fair, constructive, and supportive manner. The interviewer wants to see that you can identify those performance gaps, provide specific and actionable feedback, set clear expectations, and create a plan for improvement.
So instead of just saying, I'm good at giving feedback, I could share a story about a time when I noticed a team member was consistently making errors and explain how I documented the specific instances. Met with the team member privately to discuss the issues, provided clear, constructive feedback, offered additional training and support, and ultimately helped them to improve their performance and regain their confidence.
That's a perfect example. You're demonstrating your ability to approach these situations with empathy, provide clear and actionable feedback, and really focus on helping that team member succeed. They might ask, what strategies do you use to motivate underperforming employees? How do you handle situations where performance issues persist despite your efforts?
Okay, next question. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? This one always feels a little bit tricky, but I guess it's about showing ambition and alignment with the company's goals.
It is. So showcase your career aspirations, your commitment to professional growth, your vision for your future contribution to the company. So instead of just saying, I want to be promoted, articulate a vision that aligns with the company's goals, demonstrates your passion for the field.
So I could say something like, in 5 years, I see myself as a highly effective electrical equipment production supervisor, leading a high-performing team, mentoring future leaders, contributing to the company's growth and innovation in areas like automation and smart manufacturing.
That's an excellent example. You're demonstrating ambition, alignment with their priorities, and a desire to make a lasting impact. Be ready for those follow-up questions like, what specific steps will you take to achieve your goals? Or how do you see your role evolving within the company over the next 5 years?
This seems like a good place to kind of loop back to the career guide and highlight some of the potential career progression pathways for an electrical equipment production supervisor.
Absolutely. So the guide outlines several potential paths, like moving into higher level management positions, things like production manager, operations manager. It also mentions the possibility of specializing in a particular area of electrical equipment production, maybe something like automation or quality control, and becoming a subject matter expert.
So it's not just a linear path. There are multiple opportunities for growth and specialization within this field.
Exactly. And the guide really provides valuable insights into those skills, experience, and education that are typically required for those advancement opportunities.
All right, next question. Do you have any questions for us? This one always feels like a bit of a test. Like I need to have some brilliant questions prepared to impress the interviewer.
It's not about having the perfect question. It's really about demonstrating genuine interest in the company, the team, and the role. So instead of just saying, no, I think you've covered everything, have a few thoughtful questions ready that go beyond what you can find on their website.
So instead of asking about salary and benefits, I can ask questions like, what are the company's plans for investing in new technologies? Or how would you describe the company's culture and approach to employee development?
Those are great examples. You're showing that you've done your research, you're thinking beyond the basics, that you're genuinely interested in those long-term prospects of joining the company.
And this also seems like a good opportunity to mention how RoleCatcher's AI can help candidates formulate insightful questions based on their research and the company's profile.
Absolutely. So the platform can analyze the company's website, news articles, and social media presence to identify those key themes, initiatives, and areas of focus. It can then suggest questions that demonstrate your awareness of those areas and your alignment with their strategic priorities.
So it's like having a personal research assistant that helps you to formulate those questions
Yeah.
that are relevant, insightful, and tailored to the specific company.
Exactly. It takes the pressure off of trying to come up with those perfect questions on the spot and allows you to engage in a more meaningful and informed conversation.
We've covered a lot of ground in this section, exploring some of the more challenging and nuanced questions you might encounter during an interview for an electrical equipment production supervisor. And we've continued to weave in those insights from the career guide and the power of RoleCatcher's AI to help you prepare thoroughly and present yourself as the ideal candidate.
Now let's shift gears and dive into some of the specific technical questions that might be asked. To assess your knowledge of electrical equipment, safety protocols, and production processes. Are you ready to tackle the final set of questions?
Absolutely. Okay, so let's dive into this next set of questions that really get into the technical aspects of the role.
All right, sounds good.
First one, can you explain the different types of electrical equipment and their specific applications?
All right, so this is where you really want to showcase that foundational knowledge of electrical equipment. Think transformers, circuit breakers, motors, generators, control systems.
Right, the whole shebang.
Exactly.
But I can't just list them off.
Nope. You have to go a little deeper than that.
Right, I need to connect each piece of equipment to its real-world use. So like, circuit breakers are essential safety devices that interrupt the flow of electricity in case of a fault, preventing damage to equipment and ensuring the safety of personnel.
Exactly. That shows you understand not just what the equipment is, but why it matters in the production process. Now let's try this one. Describe a time when you had to make a critical decision regarding production safety.
Ooh. Okay, so this seems like it's more than just knowing the rules. It's about judgment and leadership.
You got it. They want to see your thought process. So think back to a situation where you had to weigh potential risks, maybe even stop production to prioritize safety.
Okay, so say there was a frayed cable near a high-voltage area. I could talk about how I assessed the risk, consulted the safety protocols, and decided to halt production until that cable was replaced, even though it meant a slight delay.
That's a great example. You're showing that safety trumps even production pressure. Now they might even follow up with something like, how do you communicate this decision to your team and superiors? Or what steps did you take to prevent similar incidents in the future?
All right, those are really good potential follow-ups. Next question. How would you handle a sudden shortage of critical components needed for production? It just sounds like a logistical nightmare.
Oh, it can be, but it's also a chance to shine. They're testing your resourcefulness and problem-solving skills under pressure. So what are your options? Think alternative suppliers, component substitutions, maybe adjusting the production schedule.
Right, so I can say I would first assess the severity of the shortage and how it impacts the production timeline. Then I would reach out to alternative suppliers to see if they could fulfill our immediate needs. And if that wasn't possible, I'd work with the engineering team to explore potential component substitutions, or even adjust the production schedule to accommodate that shortage.
Exactly. You're demonstrating a systematic approach and clear communication skills. Be ready for follow-ups, though. They might ask something like, how would you keep stakeholders informed throughout this process? Or what steps would you take to mitigate the impact on production and delivery schedules?
All really good points. And speaking of staying informed, the career guide mentions several valuable certifications that can boost your credibility, like Six Sigma, PMP, CMFGE. But what does a PMP certification really entail?
So a PMP, or Project Management Professional Certification, shows you're an expert in managing projects, like from start to finish. So that includes scope, time, cost, quality, resources, and risk. It's super valuable in manufacturing because projects can be so complex and involve a lot of different people.
Right, so having that certification would show employers that I can manage complex production projects
Yeah.
and lead teams to achieve their goals.
Exactly. And the career guide gives a really detailed overview of these certifications, like what the requirements are, the benefits, and how they can really help your career.
Awesome. Okay, next question. What steps could you take to stay abreast of emerging technologies in electrical equipment production?
This seems like a good place to show my passion for learning and innovation.
Definitely. Highlight specific things you do, like subscriptions to industry publications like IE Spectrum or Control Engineering, attending conferences like the IE Power and Energy Society General Meeting, even participating in online forums or webinars about things like industrial automation and Industry 4.0. So I could say something like, I make it a priority to attend at least one industry conference every year to connect with experts and learn about the latest trends. I also subscribe to several industry publications and follow thought leaders on social media to stay informed.
Perfect. Shows initiative and that you really want to keep learning. Don't be surprised if they ask you about specific technologies that interest you, or how you see yourself incorporating new tech into your work as a supervisor.
Right, and this seems like another spot where RoleCatcher's AI can personalize my prep.
Absolutely. The AI can analyze the company's website, recent news, even industry trends, and figure out what technologies they're focused on. That way, your answers show you've done your research and are aligned with their interests.
It's amazing how RoleCatcher can tailor your answers to each company.
Definitely takes the guesswork out of interview prep. and helps you show off your most relevant skills and knowledge.
So we've reached the end of our deep dive into the electrical equipment production supervisor interview. We explored those common questions, the technical aspects, even sprinkled in some insights from the career guide and the power of RoleCatcher's AI.
Don't forget, this interview is your chance to show off your skills and your passion for this field.
Right.
Be confident, be prepared, and let your enthusiasm shine through.
Remember, you're not just looking for any job. You're embarking on a career path with real potential for growth and impact. So go out there, rock that interview, and make your mark on the world of electrical equipment production.